YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of this discussion, this Q&A. I'm Bruce McClary with the NFCC, and I am joined today by Tasha Bishop of Uprising, and Uprising is one of our NFCC member agencies. So welcome, Tasha.
Hi, Bruce. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for being on with us. And I just want to remind our viewers on YouTube and Facebook, if you have any questions during the chat, you can feel free to enter those as we're going along and discussing some of the topics that we have in front of us today. And we'll try to get to your questions as we can during the discussion. We want to make this as engaging as possible. And certainly if you have questions, we want to make sure we're answering those. And whether they're about the specific topic that we're discussing today, or if there are other questions that deal with personal finance and financial issues, pop those in as well.
Yep, throw them out at us. See what we can do.
Put anything in the mix. First of all, how have you been doing? How's everything going?
Everything's, we've kind of adapted to the new normal. So everything is good. Just trying to stay sane, stay healthy, and, find a little joy in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, and with summer coming to an end, it's been a weird summer.
Yes, yeah. I can't believe we're at the end of summer, right? The time is different now, and
yeah, meteorological fall started on the 1st, so the actual calendar date for fall is coming up quick.
Yeah, well, pumpkin spice is out at Starbucks, so it's fall.
That's the official start of fall right there.
It is fall officially.
And grabbed one as soon as I heard they were available. And it was a 100-degree day, so I regretted ordering a hot beverage.
Oh, you can get it iced, Bruce.
I know.
I am that person. Yeah, I did it yesterday.
I'm not that trendy. So it's just.
How have you been doing? How have you been doing, Bruce?
Well, it's been a weird summer, but I've been trying to stay active. So trying to get out there. I get out on the river and kayak, and I do stand-up paddleboarding. Just to get outdoors and get away. So the river has been the closest thing to a vacation that I have.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere like tropical or exotic.
Yeah. Some body of water will do, right? One that's close by.
So the gross Potomac River, like my Riviera.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's better than the Ohio, so
yeah,
get in there.
So there's been so much going on this summer in terms of personal finance news and what people have been dealing with. And it's just, now we're at a point where a lot of the initial protections, a lot of the initial safety nets that were put in place in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of financial stability, are terming out. There's some confusion about what's being renewed or extended. And there's also some confusion about stimulus checks and what's going to happen. Renters are being caught in the middle of all of this. There are 30 to 40 million renters at risk of eviction right now. So I feel like there's a lot of confusion. People have a lot of questions. They're unsure about what's next. So help us understand a little bit about that. And let's start with some of the things that have to do with renters, because that's first and foremost on a lot of people's minds right now.
Yeah, definitely. And so, we're seeing that, firsthand. We read all of the stats about how many people this is affecting, and at Uprising, we're kind of seeing it firsthand with our clients. So obviously the widespread unemployment or reduced income because of less hours, really pushing a lot of people into that crisis situation. The recent, most states and the federal eviction moratorium have begun to expire, right? So I think at this point we have about 17 states that still have something in place, but for most people, those protections are gone and evictions are starting to happen in their communities. So there's a lot of fear and anxiety and stress that comes along with that. And so we're seeing that in our clients, and we're seeing that people are starting to they're starting to plan to be houseless. So that's a really bad place to be, right? To have to be thinking about that as a reality. And so, you know, we're trying to do what we can to sift through the information to help people understand what their options are. Like you said, there's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of the programs are state by state or city by city. So, you know, unfortunately, we can't come out and say, hey, here are all the options for everyone, right? But that's why it's so important to have, you know, trusted nonprofits that can help you sift through that information and find out what is there for you, specifically your unique circumstances and situation. So yeah, that's what we've been trying to do. Another thing that we've really been seeing a lot of is a lot of people are starting to proactively downsize. So we're seeing a lot of our clients come in talking about, okay, I think it's time that I sell my house and move into something smaller. I think it's time that I sell my house and use that money to pay rent for the next 2 years. So we're seeing a lot of people who are starting to proactively look at those options
Right.
because they are uncertain about their future as well.
Are you hearing from a lot of people who are reeling from the reduction of unemployment benefits because now they're no longer receiving the additional benefit that was coming along with unemployment?
Yeah, we definitely are. And that happened, you know, right about the same time as the eviction moratorium ended. So it really compounded those two things happening at the same time, compounds people's stress and anxiety and just ability to balance a budget. So that has certainly been something, you know, in a couple of states where we see a lot of clients, they're starting to implement that $400, you know, option. So we're starting to see that that's coming back a little bit, but yeah, super stressful, and jobs are still hard to find, right? So while we've seen that, you know, a lot of restaurants have reopened and we're starting to see a little bit more employment happening, there's a lot of people who aren't in the situation where they can find a new job yet, right? So we have people who are actively looking, who are working with recruiters, and the jobs just aren't back yet. So we're really in this, you know, uncertain gray period right now where there aren't a lot of answers and there isn't a lot of support for people.
Yeah. So with that in mind, and for the people who might be thinking about where do I turn, who do I turn to for help, walk me through a little bit of what that experience is like. If I'm a client, or if I'm coming in and I'm looking for help from Apprising, what am I going to experience if I'm someone who's uncertain, who's experiences reduction of unemployment benefits, and I'm fearing eviction?
Yeah. So you're going to meet with a certified, an FCC certified counselor, and we're going to walk through the foundation of everything we do is a budget. So we're going to walk through your current financial situation and really understand on a deep level what's going on there. That really provides us the insight we need to understand where we go next. So right now we're doing a lot of crisis budgets, right? So what does the new normal look like for you, and how can we make that work to meet your necessities? So building a lot of crisis budgets, and one really key factor there that we can help with is connecting to resources that can fill some of those needs, so you can reallocate where you need to. So lots of local resources, state resources, food banks, utility assistance, etc. So helping people connect to those and understand what's available to them, and then maybe we can find some money to reallocate to, you know, to paying some rent or. And then we're also, you know, trying to help people understand their rights. So what are your rights as a tenant? What moratoriums or deferrals are out there in the state that you're in? So helping them parse through the legal side of that. You know, we're not lawyers, but we can help you understand what is going on and we can connect you to legal aid or someone like that if you're having those issues. So really just helping kind of bring together all of those state, local, national resources so that we can find a way for you to remain in your home, ideally, and kind of weather the storm, right? So
and the resources that you can provide details about, it could be any state. So if you have somebody who's calling in from California, if you have somebody calling in from Texas, from Oregon, you have all that information available.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's part of the battle, right? Because I think a lot of people just feel overwhelmed. You can go and you can start on Google and you can say, hey, what resources exist for me? But it's really hard to get through all the noise. And so, having people who are in it every day and working with people every day can really be valuable. And we do everything that we do in an atmosphere of, trust and non-judgment. And so that's what I think a lot of people are dealing with now. We know that just finances in general, people are always hesitant to talk about financial struggles, but now I think even more so, it's just compounded by the anxiety and the stress of the pandemic and our health. So it's hard to be proactive about that, but we're here to find solutions.
Yeah, and you talked about people going out on Google and looking for resources. There's a little bit of a danger element there as well, because it's not just that it's a confusing landscape and you get a lot of results and who do you turn to? Well, this looks interesting. There are scammers out there, and they're looking to take advantage of people who are already struggling to take their last dollar, to make their situation worse. Are you hearing from people who have been scammed as they looked for places to turn to for help?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of what we're seeing is people getting like emails in their inbox saying, hey, we can help you, get $600 a month, or we can help you do this, right? So we can help you through these processes that people are familiar with and are hearing about on the news and they know exist. And so, the scammers are very creative these days. So we're seeing a lot of that, a lot of email phishing, and I think Google does a decent job of sifting out a lot of the scammers. So, we haven't heard a ton about that, but lots of email scams that are coming in and phone calls, right? Especially to individuals who are 50 and over, obviously a high risk group for those scams. So I know even my grandma got a call the other day. So just trying to, hey, we need your social security number to process your benefits, So it's happening more and more often, and people are taking advantage of the crisis, which is really a shame.
Yes, all the more important that people are aware of legitimate nonprofit organizations like Horizon and other members of the NFCC that can help take all of the information, put it in front of an individual and give them guidance and advice.
Exactly.
One of the things that I was thinking of as we were talking about the rental situation, obviously nothing lives in a vacuum. People who are struggling with rent are also dealing with other issues. They're dealing with debt issues, debt repayment, and they might be falling behind with their credit card debt. Maybe some of their debt's already in collection. Talk about where things stand with what these credit card issuers, what these lenders are doing for people right now in this situation where people might be having difficulty to pay. Are the programs available still the same as they were at the beginning of COVID? Is it any change?
It's not the same. So most people had a 3-month deferral, right, built in. And some creditors and lenders have kept that deferral going. So are working with people really on a one-on-one basis, right? So if you're proactive, if you're reaching out to your creditors, then they're willing to work through that and continue those deferrals. Some people aren't. So some people are moving towards, the collection calls and trying to collect on that debt. So it's really a creditor by creditor situation now. And that's another thing that is hard for people to navigate, right? Especially if they have a lot of different cards with different lenders. They don't understand what's going on with each one. So at this point, it's really just about being proactive, reaching out, talking to each creditor, explaining your situation, and making sure that you are advocating for yourself, right? And that's also something that we can help with, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times people think, well, the advice is that I have to call up my creditor and talk to them. That's not a conversation that people have on a regular basis, and it might not be a conversation that somebody's comfortable having.
Exactly.
So that's another reason why I think it's good for people to reach out to organizations like yours, Horizon, and talk to a counselor before you have that interaction with the
Yeah.
creditor, if you're going to call the creditor, or you could just work with the credit counseling agency and
Yeah.
enroll in a debt management plan.
Right. Yeah. That's part of our job, is to help have those conversations, right? Like, what are the questions to ask? And we can facilitate that. And yeah, I mean, we've also, and you know this, Bruce, but for everyone else, across the credit counseling industry, implemented some hardship programs to help people who are, on debt management programs stay on those, right? We've been doing things on our end to help people find some certainty, even if right now isn't the perfect time for you, right? Then let's make the plan now, and we'll get you there, right? We'll do what we can now, and then we'll get you to that point where you are, actively paying off your debt as soon as we can. So just helping people, kind of having a plan is really takes away a lot of that stress and anxiety. So even if it's not something that, like, today I can do this, then having the plan and knowing that you're going to be able to enact that soon is really valuable, especially in times like this where everything is uncertain. Just, I've been making lots of lists, and I know that a lot of people, it's really a great way to ease some of your stress and anxiety. Make a list, make a plan. So
yeah, and that's important. But I think a lot of people right now are dealing with, I guess, a feeling of defeatism. They're depressed about their situation.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is look at the details of how bad your situation may be if you're already depressed about it. So
Yep.
what advice do you have for people who might be at the point where they're just about to shove the pile of collection notices and eviction notices to the side and just say, I'm not going to do anything?
I would say that's a very natural response, but it also is not really the correct response, right? So what you want to do is find support to help you deal with it. We can't do it alone. And that's probably what is causing a lot of that stress and anxiety, is knowing that this isn't something I can handle on my own right now, mentally or financially or whatever it may be. So just knowing that you have support systems out there, right? So have conversations, start talking about it. I think one of the key things is that so many people, we deal with this in a bubble, right? And we're dealing with everything in a bubble right now. Just sitting at home, stewing over all of these stressors. But it's easy to connect with NFCC certified agencies, with friends, family. Just start having the conversation, right? That's what's important, is start admitting that you're struggling and letting people in, and then you're going to start finding that there are solutions out there.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to bring the advice of others and the help of others into your situation, especially someone who is a financial professional.
Yep.
And somebody who is accessible. And that's why going to a nonprofit credit counseling agency is very important. This is it's a resource that can be helpful. Getting advice from friends and family is good too, but not everybody that you know or that you're related to may be giving you advice. It's good, even if you're getting advice from friends and family, you should probably run it through a filter.
Yeah, exactly.
And that filter could be your credit counselor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So find the trusted resources, come to us. This is what we're here for, right? So these crisis situations is really, I think, why we exist, right? So that people have a resource right now that they can reach out to when times are tough. And so that's why we just want to keep spreading the word and making sure that people know all of the different things that we do and can help with.
Yeah, and what's the worst thing somebody could do right now? The absolute worst thing, like the worst, if you're in trouble financially and you know you're probably going to be evicted, you've got debt collection calls coming, what's the absolute worst thing somebody could do right now?
I mean, I would say ignore the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So head in the sand is the worst thing. And what about people who have reached out to maybe to solutions that didn't exactly help them. Is there a way for them to come to credit counseling and fix those situations? Like I'm thinking, I'm just going to use this as an example. So I don't want to pick on any particular option, but let's just say somebody went to a debt settlement company. The debt settlement company didn't do what they had promised. The person's further behind. Can that be fixed?
In a lot of cases, yes. Yes. So, again, it's totally dependent on the situation. And in all cases, I can't say that. But, it's almost never too late. I'll say it that way. So yes, getting yourself into one of those situations can really drain a lot of your resources when you are resource poor, right? So when you don't have a lot of cash, you're unemployed, you're not having a lot of income coming in, and then you spend it on a solution, a fast fix or a solution that doesn't work for you, that can be really devastating. But the problem still exists and there are ways to fix it. So we will find a solution and we'll figure it out. But those can be really devastating. I mean, emotionally, first of all, because you thought you had a solution, it didn't work out, and now you are in a deeper hole than you were in the first place. So I know the mental effect that can have and the financial effect that can have. But again, the problems still exist. If they didn't solve it, it still exists. And so yes, there's still options for those folks. But what we see, and I know you mentioned debt settlement, but the fast fix, and you asked me what the worst someone could do, and I said head in the sand, but it's probably finding a fast fix with really high interest, because then you are just digging the hole deeper, right? And so we've seen online lenders with interest rates up to 800%, right? I mean, you can never pay that back. That is unrealistic. So then you have another complicating factor. You have another stressor in your life because you're getting phone calls, and this is going to go on for years and years and years. So that is probably the worst thing you could do, is look for, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And fast money is never cheap money. So just be very wary about those.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, because there are a lot of debt relief solutions that are actually loans, and you're borrowing your way out of debt. I've always advise people that borrowing your way out of debt, just listen at what that sounds like. It's right. It doesn't sound like a good idea, but if the product is being packaged in a way that sort of hides the fact that it's a high interest loan, that's where people get into trouble, because they might think, oh, this is a quick and easy way out, I can use this, it's going to help me, and then they end up with mountains of interest that they have to pay on a very expensive loan that makes the situation worse and more expensive to get out from under. So exactly. That's a good point that you brought up.
Yeah, and something like that can really, it can ruin your credit, right? Because like I said, it's almost impossible for anyone to pay that back, right? 800% interest, and then you don't, and then your credit is shot. So it can really have long-term impacts on your financial health. And so that's one thing that I worry about, and we try to talk to our clients about now, is just don't make fast decisions right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot going on. Take your time. Think about the options, right? This isn't the time to be making these really quick decisions.
Yeah, and I used to be a debt collector, and I know that our tactic was pressure, 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 and then you get the person to pay. So the tactic of the debt collector is often to make the person feel like there's less time than there actually is to think about something and make a decision. So even if you're being pressured by debt collectors, it doesn't mean you don't have 30 minutes or an hour to get some advice, to talk to somebody and think it through. So at least you have that amount of time to reach out and talk to a nonprofit credit counseling agency to get the advice that can help you make a more thoughtful decision and get you out of the trenches so that you can have a clear idea of where you need to go.
Exactly. Yeah. I like that 24-hour rule. Just sit on it for 24 hours, whatever it is.
That's good in so many
especially big financial decisions, but also like that shirt that you really want at Target or whatever it may be. Give it 24 hours.
The 24-hour rule can apply.
Yes.
And the other thing too, you were talking about credit damage real quick before we wrap up. one thing I always warn people about is there are a lot of credit repair offers out there. So if you've already fallen behind, if you've gotten into a financial mess because of COVID-19,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, oh, all I have to do is just go to one of these magic credit repair places and they'll fix all my problems, and then I won't have to worry about the financial mess. That's another tricky area too, because not all of the credit repair companies are able to deliver on some of the things they're offering, and they'll take your money happily,
Right.
but they may leave you without what you were expecting.
Yeah, exactly. Again, most of those things you can do yourself or with the support of a nonprofit credit counselor. So that is, and it's just, yeah. At a time when people don't have a lot of spare income, having a $80 to $90 monthly fee, that's a big chunk of change. So for what, like you said, the results may not pan out. So most of these things, with a little education and a little support, you can do yourself, and you don't need that. There's no real quick fixes to credit, and so if people are trying to sell you that, then red flag.
Right. Well, so you mentioned the help and support. So just real quickly, share with our viewers a little bit about how people can get in touch with Apprise and get that kind of support.
Yeah, definitely. So you can start at our website. So just www.apprisen.com. Learn a little bit more about us. You can chat instantly with a certified counselor on there, or you can go ahead and just start the process online. So we have an online submission process. You can just start putting your information in there, and then once you submit that, we'll get connected to a counselor. So that's a really great place to start. But if you want to pick up the phone, then 800-355-2227.
Great, and that is toll free. And if you want to find out why it's important that organizations like Apprise are part of an NFCC network of nonprofit organizations, you can check out information at fcc.org and find out what it means about the quality of the counseling that you'll receive, about the way the counselors are certified, and the standards that they have to adhere to. And Apprise is one of those agencies.
Awesome. Yes.
So thanks everybody for being on and watching, and thank you, Tasha, for being a guest. It was great talking to you.
Likewise, always a pleasure. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody. Join us again next week. Same time, same channel.
Bye, guys.